to build a website. Intrinsically, whenever we have these classes, the first set of questions always seem to revolve around, how do I build the site? What do I do to build the site? Where do I go? And where do I start? And it seems to be an ongoing theme. So I thought, well, maybe if we kind of nip this all in one shot, we can have a whole discussion about this, and it would be a good place to start on this. I decided we're going to talk about this. So the very first thing you have to do, I'd like to know really how many of you actually have websites. But I'm going to assume that if you don't, you don't. And then if you do, that you're probably using a free builder type program. So the first question I'm going to throw out there, and I want everybody to kind of put that in the scroll, like in the question and answer box for me, is what did you build your website in? Either the answer is none, Wix, Squarespace, WordPress, or something else. So I know what I've got running around in the room here. No, you don't have to have a website for the person that asked that question. All right. Oh, you guys are doing good here. All right. So I have about 50% of you have said WordPress. Those of you that said WordPress, can you tell me if it's WordPress.com or WordPress.org? And if you don't know, say, I don't know. Okay. All right. All right. So the reason I'm asking these questions is because there really is, I hate to say this, WordPress.org is always the right answer. But I want to explain why, and then I want to kind of talk through with the ones of you that I have a bunch of Shopify's, I've got a bunch of Squarespace, I've got a bunch of Wix, and I kind of want to address where all of these are and what they are, so then we know what to do to move forward and then where we go. And let me scroll my screen down just because I'm making sure. .com, not sure, running through GoDaddy is going to be in the same category. So there's two different ways to build a website in 2020. And I almost said 19, but because I've lost this entire year, I'm hoping we can just jump to 2021 at the rate we're going. I'm kind of over all this. But there's two different paths there's three different paths that you can take. There is a old school method or a customized method to build a website. So I have a website. I've had somebody come in and custom program it, custom build it. Some of them still, as hard as it is for me to believe, some of them are still writing it in old HTML. They've done a good job, but it's written in older code. And a lot of that is gone by the way of the dodo bird. If you bought a custom version of software or have paid somebody and they did a custom version, chances are you're going to be okay, but I don't know that we have the flexibility to add the elements that we need, and I'll kind of touch on custom last because there wasn't a lot of you. The next is WordPress.org. Now, WordPress.org is always 100%, almost without exception, the right path to take. And I will come back to say why in a minute. Those of you that are Squarespace, Wix, Weebly's another one, Shopify's another one. I want to explain a little bit about that so we understand. So when you build a house, the foundation of the house is probably the most important thing that you build. When you build a car, the engine is the most important item that we have when we build that car. And because some of these don't have a good engine, it doesn't allow us to get as far down the road. So one of the objectives that you have to assess is, what is the goal for your website? If the goal for your website is for there to be visibility and people to see you and people to find you naturally on Google, places, these online systems make it very difficult for you to be able to meet the criteria that Google wants. And I hope to get through what that criteria is a lot tonight. I'm going to try to the best of my ability to do that. Those systems, if your objective is to just have something on a business card that you can put 1 page out on the internet or 5 pages out on the internet, and you have no bigger ambition than to say, hey, go to my website, then you're okay. But I've been of the opinion, and I will remain of the opinion, is that your website is another salesman in your organization. And it should be treated as such. And when you don't treat it as such, it doesn't allow your business all the different ways that it can grow. And when we're an upstart, it may seem a little bit undaunting to do that. What I will say is that I'm looking at everything through the prism of a pandemic at this point. And I know that a lot of the interpersonal communication and the interpersonal discussions that we've used to have with people, we can't do that anymore. We can't go out and sit down and have lunch and get to know each other. It's funny because I can look down this list and I know some of you that I know I've met in person. But I also see a whole bunch of people here that I see your names on a screen and I have no idea who you are. And the thing is that personal interaction helps all of us get to know what's going on, what's happening, who we are, how do we interact, and lets us form networks and lets us come up with ways to do business together, okay? That has been lost in this pandemic at this point. I mean, everybody's kind of trying, and we're doing Zoom meetings and we're doing all of that. But one thing that you are actually doing is still utilizing your website. So if you have a website that you put up and it's a 5-page website and you never cultivated being, I'm going to put the word air quotes, found, we have a very different set of dynamic with those folks than the people that took the time to put in the effort to make sure that we did certain things right. It's not a knock because, again, it's all about goals and what were your goals for your website. So I want to make sure that we kind of understand that part of it. But you have to make that determination. So I am going to be of the opinion that any business that intends to stay in business long-term needs a website that Google can index, that Google can find, and Google can include you in their listings. Squarespace, WordPress.com, Wix, Shopify do not give you the best advantages to do that. So just a little bit of number crunching at you. I don't like to do numbers much, but 94% of websites that are built on those platforms do not rank. Now, I have seen people like me run competitions up against each other to see what it would take to make a website rank within those frameworks, and it can be done. But I have a 22-year skill set, so it becomes a very difficult lift for somebody that doesn't necessarily understand what that lift looks like. So I hope everybody kind of understands what I'm saying there. That's not a knock on anybody. That's not a, somebody's not doing something. It's nothing to do with that. It's that these systems are so hard that you don't have a broke clock syndrome, okay? WordPress.org has a broke clock syndrome. And if anybody knows about a broke clock, it's right 2 times a day. The other thing, my dad, he's 85. He likes to say this a lot to me because he does something and I'm like, boy, a blind squirrel found the nut. So sometimes he'll go find something and he says the blind squirrel struck again. So he makes me chuckle when he says that. But WordPress.org lets a blind squirrel find a nut. Okay, so if you do a few basic things right, you're in some real good position to get ahead. So when I look at the scales of what those 2 items are and what would work, I have one that 94% of you have no presence in Google whatsoever. I have another bunch of you that may or may not have a website or a goal. And then I have another of you that have about 50% of you at least have half a fighting chance of being able to do something. So, and I'm trying to find out, somebody, it's like looking like somebody has their hand up, but I don't think they do. So with all of that said, I want you to understand that the objectives for your website are very important for this discussion, because if your objective is to be found on a search engine or to have a public appearance in that manner, chances are a Squarespace site, a Wix site is not necessarily the right path to take without a whole lot of extra work being attached to it. So, and you know, and I hate to say this, somebody must have their, Sandra, do you see somebody with their hand up? I don't mean to interrupt, but I've got 3 people with their hands up here. Does somebody, you guys want to ask questions? Is that what we're trying to do? Are they able to, can you unmute them? I don't know if I have the ability to do that. Let me see if I don't have the ability to do it. You're muted, I can't hear you. I apologize. Can you just put the questions in the scrolls? We'll see about getting you unmuted later. But we can, I'd rather do it off the scroll than try to get you in off these microphones, if that's okay. If everybody could do that, I'd appreciate
Score has
that.
set it up so that they prefer them to ask the questions in the Q&A.
Yeah, and that's really where I would prefer it too. It's just that I saw like 5 of them with their hands up, and I was wondering what's going on here. So, if you guys can put your questions in the call, Saul. No, there's nothing I can do with my dog, John. He's just gonna, I don't know what his problem is, but I would have to get up and go get him. So that I apologize about. He has decided that something is bothering him, and
Well, I can,
really
you know what,
why.
if you'd like to do that, I can talk to them a minute, because I've had a lot of questions asked about the Small Business Success Series. So if you want to do something.
Yeah, let me go see if I can find out what his problem is, because he's melting down. He doesn't normally do this, but I don't know. So, all right, I'll be right back then. Give me 1 second. Thank you.
Okay.
I apologize for the interruption.
No worries. I do want to let you know that we'll be sending information to all of you regarding the Small Business Success Series, and we partner with SCORE to bring it to you. So it will also be appearing on the SCORE website soon. We'll be opening up registration for it soon. And the way it'll work is that we'll have each of the starting Mondays posted for each of those 5 modules. And so you can sign up for each module that you can attend. And if you can make it, we welcome you for all 5 modules. And we'll then send you a link when you sign up for that module that will work for the 2 afternoons for that module. So you'll only find it listed on a Monday, but when we send you the link will work for both the Monday and the Thursday afternoon sessions for that module. And HCC is going to host the virtual part of it. So we'll do it on WebEx meetings. And so we'll send you a link that will work for WebEx meetings, and we'll welcome you in. And it should be a great run. We have some wonderful presenters, and you're just going to love the content when you see it up, to get to know more about who'll be presenting for you, and to just have fun with it. We're excited because by giving you an afternoon session on Monday and on Thursday, they'll give you some time in between Monday and Thursday to do a little work on your business assumptions. So when you finish each of the modules, you're going to take away something important from that module about that part of your business plan, and it'll be about your plan, your business assumptions. So welcome back, Beth.
All right, I'm back, yes. And he seems to be happy at my feet for the moment. I don't know what his problem was. All right, so.
I think they can concentrate on you better when he's not talking to them too.
Oh no, I know. He doesn't normally run his head like that, so I don't know what his problem was. All right, so let's back up on some of these questions here. One person said, is GoDaddy a good website? That's a web host. I think you have to pick your website host very carefully. They are good until they're bad and you need them, and then you're going to find out how bad they are. So you can try to read between those lines if you'd like, but that's my 2 cents on, is GoDaddy a good host?
I'm going to say one more thing before you keep going. Flora and I are going to take ourselves off camera so we can just let you be the main focus of the event now. And then if you want to start showing them something on camera, you can do that as well.
A lot of this we're going to talk for the moment, because I want to get to, how many times do I answer this question about Squarespace, Wix, and Weebly? And I mean, I think I do it every week. So I thought it was a good time to actually take the time to explain what my issues are with all of this.
I
Okay.
agree. And we'll let you be the focus. So I'm going to take myself off camera, but I'm here and I'll answer questions too if they're in the chat.
Okay.
Okay.
All
All
right.
right. Thank you.
Okay. So next one says, I can't hear with the dog barking. Okay, dog has been under control. At least for the moment he is. I think he's mad because I have a green screen behind me is what I think he's mad about. Let's see. Will there be in will there also be entail for a podcast site, which is a platform are you going to use for your podcast? You know, it's funny that you say that. So this question is, am I going to talk about a podcast? No, I wasn't going to talk about a podcast, but I did a talk on a podcast this morning, and I'm trying to figure out what to do with that talk. But what I will tell you is the best podcasting place you can have, you need a WordPress website and then use SoundCloud to host the files. That's the two high points on podcasting. Let's see. The next one says, let me mark that one. It's done. Next one says, when you refer to WordPress.org, does that include WordPress installs? Yeah, no, it doesn't. It does if you're at someplace like Bluehost. It doesn't if you're at GoDaddy. GoDaddy is interesting, and they do a lot of things to make sure that it's very difficult to leave them. So what they did is they went and partnered with WordPress.com. So you just can't pick your website up with GoDaddy and their WordPress install because it's a WordPress.com install. So it's not, the answer is 9 out of 10 web hosting companies let you use WordPress.org. There's one that kind of doesn't do it exactly that way. All right. If I get a call from Google, should I talk to them? No, never talk to Google. That's like talking to the IRS. I don't talk to them either if they call me. All right, let's see. Next one says, will you be emailing the one slide that shows the, no, that's for Sandra. All right, hold on, that's for Sandra. In the physical class before COVID, she said, people are stuck with GoDaddy except your build and manage your website.org is easier. But took her as 3 physical WordPress.com classes, not easy to manage. Okay. All right. So I think with WordPress.org or WordPress.com, the interface is somewhat the same. Okay. So let me be clear on that. The WordPress interface looks somewhat similar. And actually, let me do a screen share here on this. Because while I was working before I got here. So this is what a typical WordPress dashboard works like. You need some basic plugins to make this easy to publish. So like if I wanted to post a page of content or put something up, it's as easy for me as to add a block in a row and I just add it in, but I have a website builder to do that. Okay, that's not the same as using something like Wix that can be dragged and dropped and moved around on a screen. They're completely different. So I think with the right set of plugins, a WordPress website is not hard to manage. You need something like Elementor, WP Bakery, Beaver Builder, any of them that add a visualization. It's going to end up helping with that. Okay, so I think it can be easy, but I think you need to make sure you put the right plugins in. It is very difficult if you don't put the right plugins in and don't know that you're supposed to put them in. So I hope that kind of answers that question. All right. It says, my site was flagged years ago and I had to change my host, sent it to Google to stop placing the negative message, took the site down constantly. Is there a way to clear that? I don't know what to do. Yes, the way to clear that is through Webmaster Tools, but you have to make sure that your website and your web host and whatever was hacked was cleaned up. If it won't go away persistently on its own, then my guess is somewhere, somehow that's still hacked and that needs to be looked at by somebody that knows what they're doing with it. So that would be the answer to that. With WordPress at home, do you build your own website? Yes. Okay. What does it mean to say, do you build your own website? The answer is yes, I do build my own website. I do everything directly myself. I put my own pages up. I pick a theme. So what that means is it gives me a set of appearance functions. Let me save my page here. Hold on a minute. I don't want to lose all the work I did. Let me save that. So then I come over here. There's a whole appearance tab that you can configure. Where the heck did it go? All right. So you go to themes and you can pick what that website looks like. So this is the one that I have picked for this one. Here's a couple others that I played around with. Here's some standard ones that come with WordPress itself. So I've got all of that looking there for people to be able to, one second, I apologize, let me, okay. So I can easily pick what I want the website to look like. Now, what I can't do often is mess around with the top part of this website myself, or I can't mess around with where things sit. I have to do some custom programming to do that. So there is some limitations in design and elements, but overall, I think once you pick a theme, there's usually some developer content that they give you. Worst case scenario is you open the page, you type over what's there, you utilize the things that are already built, and you look like a rock star. But you actually have a website that looks like you built the website yourself and did real well with that. So I have no issues using these themes in this theme system. So yes, short answer is yes, you build your own website, but how you go about it is like the mechanics of it become the situation. The next thing says, what determines a good web host? You know, I've been a web hosting company for 21 years now, so that's somewhat of a what is a good web host is one that offers you support, answers your questions. When something bad happens with your website, they actually fix it and don't charge you through the nostrils to do it. They don't shut it off and charge you $1 less than a lawyer would charge you to confer with them to go sue them. There's a myriad of things, you know, and this is so going to sound so simplistic, but I usually look for the web. If I was going to look for a web hosting company, I would put the name of the web company in some kind of negative expletive like sucks or something like that. And when you do that, you get a really good flavor of what that web hosting and how they handle it. The other thing is simply reading reviews and seeing how they handle the negative reviews. I think when you look at a company and you assess the negative reviews, it kind of gives you a viewpoint of what that's about. So that would be another way to do it. I started doing web design and I used Yahoo web hosting, and this goes back almost 21 years. And they never would answer a question. And if I had to say, I should have changed the name of my company early on because my company became Fine, I'll Do It Myself. Because I got so aggravated with everything. Anytime something would go wrong and somebody didn't answer me, I just said, fine, I do it myself. So I ended up with my web hosting company, my web design company, and all the other services that we offer. Most came out of the fact that somebody aggravated me enough. Do I think there's good web hosting companies out there? No, I probably don't. Do I think a lot of them are cover operations for something else? Absolutely. And what I mean when I say that is Squarespace is a great example. They're owned by Square, you know, that little white thing that you hook up to your phone. And what they did is they have all these small business owners coming in, so they get their merchant accounts, so they get the percentage of the sales off of those websites. So they're not really invested in whether that web hosting account, they're using it as a loss leader to get you in the door to have your merchant provider with them. iPowerWeb, which was an old company that you did that, GoDaddy's another one that has a lot of skin in that game, that they have a lot of downline items that are products that they don't sell, but they use that web hosting platform as a way to advertise what they, all these Comcast, back office tools. So a lot of these services end up running through GoDaddy, that GoDaddy's getting a percentage of sales through. Trying to find a true web hosting company that's their job, that might be a question that I would ask. And it's an interesting problem. The other thing is, any company, and this is a general statement, but any company that sets their systems up that forces you to stay with them or makes it next to impossible to leave them is a company that you should not sign up with. And that's just my opinion. Other people might not even, but to me, any company that you do business with should be just as easy to leave as they are to sign up with. And the reason why is because if I have to hold you hostage, that means that I'm not keeping you on service and quality. I'm just making it hard for you. And that's something that we all need to consider, at least in my. So as far as this web hosting thing that we're asking about, I think those are some of the things that I would look for in a web host. If I was shopping for one, I got mad enough and started my own. So that's kind of but not everybody could do that. But that was kind of my approach to the problem. The next one says, let's see, I just talked about GoDaddy too. Can you sell products on WordPress.org, and since someone with a web design background make their own WordPress.org? Okay, so that's kind of an interesting question too. Can you sell products on WordPress.org? Yes, absolutely you can. Those files get downloaded and they get put actually on your own computer. And when they get put on your own server, I guess is probably the better way for me to use that than your own computer. But when I go and I look at, I'm sorry, what was I lost my train of thought there a second there. So when I go and I look at WordPress.org, I'm actually saying those are a file system that lives on my own website. WordPress has a WooCommerce plugin that adds a full-blown e-commerce store to any website very easily. The Shopify people need to learn that lesson too, because again, you can't do the things that you need to do in Shopify. Shopify is another one that has a huge problem with this whole be found thing. It's very difficult to do. I mean, it's very difficult to do. So, that's just understand that again, if the objective is to get ranked, these are not the way or the path to go about against it. Jennifer Behan said, is Bluehost good? I guess other than my own host company, if you're going to make me recommend a competitor, Bluehost is probably the only one out there that actually tries hard enough to do something right. So, I mean, that's probably the best answer on that. All right. Will the recording of this be recorded? Yes, we do. We do keep a recording of this, and we do try to put it out there for people. That's on the SEO 411 site under the class tab. All previous class videos are posted there. What should I pay for a website, and are they offering free sign-on for new customers? What I should pay for a website, that's a tricky question, because it can be anywhere from $500 to $50,000. I mean, that's not, there's like such a, if you're talking about signing up a new website and starting, I think the average price on that should be about $1,500 to $2,000 for somebody that's actually going to do it right. As far as what your web hosting plan should be, it should be anywhere from $9 to $19 on average. So that would be that question answered. Let's see. You guys are doing good with the questions tonight. You're kind of staying right on point too. Okay, WordPress.org. Does it have web templates and items for plugins? My iPage has WordPress I don't know enough about iPage anymore. But the answer of your question is WordPress has oodles and oodles and oodles and oodles of plugins. If you can dream it, there's a plugin for it. So I've got no problem. I mean, you see all the ones that are listed on mine over here. I've got this list over here on mine is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. I've got about 15 to 18 plugins sitting off on that side that's not buried in the menu structure. And they're all, one allowed me to add a booking system. One allowed me to add a email marketing campaign. One allowed me to do auto posting to social platforms. I mean, the list is endless. If there's a problem, there's a plugin to solve it, if you will. Okay, keep getting. Okay, so let me say this because we kind of keep getting this question. So when Google calls, don't answer or don't get involved with them. Those are paid people that are out there trolling to get local, set up Google My Business, anything like that. Google really doesn't, it rarely calls people. And most of these are people that are going to take your money and you're not going to see any speakable improvement. And you're not even going to know enough to know what they've done and what they haven't done. So I would say steer clear of robocalls claiming to be Google and how they can improve your business. And that's that story. So that's just it's constant. I have it constant. Is Divi a good template to use? Okay. Yes, the answer is yes. It's lightweight. It does good. It does good code. I think it's a little bit more difficult to use than I prefer. I've been doing this a long time, and I'm much better with blocks and doing layout that way. Divi doesn't operate the way my brain operates. So although the product is very good, I am not comfortable with it. But that doesn't mean that somebody else can't be comfortable with it. And I do think it's a little bit more advanced than some of these basic ones. But yeah, if you're using Divi and you're good with Divi, have at it because it's a good road to go on. Can I make the information I'm showing larger? Yes, I always forget that I have the world's biggest iMac over here, and I just have to blow the screen up for you guys. Let me see. Oh, it's going to give me trouble to do it, right? Command zoom. There we go. All right, that should be a little bit better for everybody. Now I have to get my chat back, question and answer chat back. Okay, so that should be, if it's not, let me know again. It says, if we use Shopify to sell a product and we have the education tool like a blog and information, how do we add that and what platforms will work with Shopify? Well, no. That's a tough question. If you use Shopify to sell products and you have an education tool like a blog, yeah. See, I would do tricks with that. I would run the shopping cart from Shopify under a subdomain. So let's say shop.seo411, and that would be my Shopify area. And then I would take my SEO 411 and run the front part of the website in the blog so that the credit for the blog, which is what Google will notice, is going to stay encapsulated within the domain. I know that it's never going to rank the product sideways, so you're better off to run that under a subdomain. That's a complicated question with a complicated answer. That may be call me sometime tomorrow or Friday, and I'll explain that to you in more detail, because that would be one way to handle it, which is take the Shopify portion of the website, remove it out of the mainframe of the website, so you're still using the shopping cart part, but all your education and Google value would be based on your main domain. That is a doable solution. It's not the ideal solution, but it's the situation. All right. Okay. How do I remove the theme's copyright text on the bottom when I use the theme? Okay. That is a good question. Um, every theme has a different way to edit it. Some of them say check a box to remove it. Some of them you just type over the bottom of it. The big takeaway is you need to remove the theme's link or copyright information that goes out to their website off the bottom of your website. 100% without fail um, is the best way to do that. Um, all right. So the next question is, let's see, answer live. Sorry. Okay. Next question is, it says, thanks. Besides WordPress.org, what other companies would, okay, I'm going to say, I'm not recommending companies. I'm recommending platforms. And the thing is, there's a lot of things on a website that need to be done that can't be done in other platforms. Now, I could, with something like a Drupal, something like a Joomla, something like a Magento, could do that. But the lift on it is much much more difficult. Magento makes my head explode. Joomla does not keep up with their code base, so it gets hacked a lot. And Drupal probably would be the next most reasonable thing to do, but again, it is extremely difficult to use. So when you say besides X, what would I suggest? I don't, especially in a room of folks that do a lot of their work themselves. It's hard to come up with another solution because again, it's objective based. So if my objective is to rank on Google, the thing that's going to give you the best chance to do that is WordPress.org. Now, if that's not your objective, that becomes a different discussion, and that's a whole different thing to talk about. So that's a piece of this. But I don't know that there's another alternative. We're 100%. Let me say that again. We are 99.9% WordPress. I have one custom built site that we work on. And what I did with the custom built site, because it wouldn't work, I built a subdomain and entrenched it within the custom code because you can't get these things to work right. And I'm going to explain why here in a minute. I got to watch my time because I want to make sure I don't run out of time. But a lot of what I'm talking about are things that need to be done that Google's looking for. It's not just title tags and meta tags anymore. It's how the H1s and the div tags render on a website. So what I mean when I say that, and actually I don't want to do that. Okay, so let me just pull up a post here. It's probably going to be the easiest way to do that. So this page here, I published, this is today's blog post that we put out today. So when I sit down to do this, there's certain elements of a page that I need to be able to control, okay? Title tag, which is what everybody talks about, I can easily control. I need to be able to control the permalink that the website generates, okay? So I need to be able to go in there and be able to tell the page what I want the page to be named. I don't want it to be named XYZPDQ, okay? I need to, when I be able to post my pages, I need to be able to decide what I want to do with the H tags, which is this heading function over here. That heading function used to be used to tell people headline 1, it's super important, headline 6, it's important, but not all that much. the web development community and the custom program community has co-opted these headings. So I see people using it as click here, so they can make the click here really big on their website. Or they utilize that to make nested lists. Okay, the problem with that is you're sending a signal to Google, because these programs are utilizing functions that are technical functions that should have never been disturbed and bothered. It's actually being used to make web design, make things pretty. Well, Google doesn't care about pretty. Google cares about what signals do you have, what is the math on something, and how is that math working. So you notice that I have SEO best practices, because that's a term that I want to rank on. Okay. Let me go to a website that we're working on right now, and I want to. This one will give us a little bit of a better background. So there's a whole, and if you can't see this, let me blow it up now, because I know you're going to all tell me you can't. Control plus. All right. So this is a little itty bitty website that's just getting started, and it doesn't have very many pages. But if I go to my front page, down on the bottom, I have a tool in here that tells me how well the page scores up against certain elements of Google. And I'm going to remove that one, and I'm going to remove that one. Okay. And I'm going to actually remove that one. Let's do this. So when I put that in, that's the word that I want to rank on this website, because this is the biggest thing that you can rank on. They're all going to go bark again. I'm sorry. I just don't know what they're upset about. They don't normally do this. Anyway, and if they persist, I may have to step away just to grab them real quick again. But anyway, there's a list of points that are there that you have to go through to be able to get everything right. So everything from a title tag to how many you have, how do you put together your meta description, how many words are in the post, how many anchor texts do we have in the post, how is the page redirected properly, does the page have a canonical URL, which is a really fancy way of saying, does the page have a page that says it's the main page? Do I have focus keywords appears in the first 10% of the content? Okay. There's a whole series of things that have to be done technically that can't be done within these other tools. The other way to look at this too is, let's go to here. And I'm going to have to blow this one up again too. So this is a great website. I'm sorry, I've got to blow these up so you can see. One of the biggest sets of problems that I see with a website is this navigation structure. And how do you nest it and make it go together? Okay. Which is, I have a page, I have subpages. I have a page, I have subpages. But then the other thing that Google's looking for on these nested pages is there an interconnection of your pages? Okay. Well, your cookie cutter builders, like we're talking about, don't generate this. So that's a problem. And then there's a related topic section that we have on the bottom. Google's looking for these swaths of links of pages that are interconnected with each other, because basically what it does is it builds silos on topics. So all the light bulb pages are all together. All the lighting pages are together. All the tennis court pages are together. So it creates this interconnectivity of pages. You cannot do that on any earth with something like uh, Squarespace or Wix or even WordPress.com. The ability to alter that, those are queries that have to be pulled out of the database and then displayed back out on a page. So when I look at those kind of things and I do those kind of things, you see, oh, here's all the light poles that are together. Google says, okay, so I have these 5 subsets that point to this main page. And what it's doing is these pages prop this main page up. So Google says, okay, you have 20 pages that are talking about this, and they're all pointing to this main page. Well, then by gosh, by golly, we think this is an important page too, because it meets the writing criteria, it meets the title tag criteria, and now I have this vertical. You cannot create those verticals within these cookie cutter sites. And that's one of the largest problems with them. The other thing is, and if I come back, let me see if I still have the Sterling site up here. You see this whole index, no index problem? By design, those website builders tell Google not to index your website. So we're going in telling them not to do these things. And you can't rank a website when you're in there telling them, please do not rank this. We don't want you to do that. They will delist the site. I'm going to add another set of caveats to what I'm talking about here. Google has gone through in the not too distant past and come up with an excluded page situation. And what they're doing is they're saying, we're not just going to rank all the pages on a website anymore just because you've submitted them and told us they're there. We're going to go through and we're going to check the criteria of these pages. We're going to make sure that their content is really, really good and that people are social sharing them and that people are coming to these pages from multiple different locations on the internet. And if those pages don't meet those criteria, well, guess what? We're going to just omit them from our directory. They're not obligated to list your site. So if that's what they want to do, then our bar just went higher and they know the code base of these cookie cutter sites. So let's just look over here. And this just happens to be a page I'm working on. Let me see if I can view source. The code base identifies itself with inside what you're using. This right now, Google sees this right here and it knows that's a WordPress website. So they know what code that they're expecting. Can one of you guys in the scroll that has a Squarespace website, go ahead and throw your website address up here for me a minute. Who's ever first is the one I'm going to grab. So just, nobody's typing. All right, well, we'll have to wait till somebody figures out that they want to tell me what website address they have. All right, so what I was going to do is show you the difference in the code base so you can see it, and you can, thank you very much. So as you can see, this is WordPress though. Yours is a WordPress site. I need like somebody with a Squarespace website. Let me try this one and see if this one's Squarespace. All right, so this is something strange. I don't even know what the heck this one is. I don't think this is Squarespace, this one. But if you look down the code base, it's nowhere near. It's all the style, inline style built in. There's it's identifying itself, and it's identifying where this is all coming from. And it basically tells Google, like, if you look at all this. That's why Google can't even read that, because it's not really clearly saying what that is. If I come back over here to this one, see how nice and neat all my, this is a WordPress theme site, a WordPress site. So that's at least a step in the right direction. And then the code is minified here, but it's all kind of put together in a way that it's not just div tag after div tag after div tag, that they can't really understand. The other thing is, nicely, we've commented this theme out. So this, I know this all looks like gibberish if you're not used to reading it, but what my point was to tell you is that Google's basically identifying what that website's built with and making the determination on the front side. They know if they have a Google website, or a WordPress website, the chances are the code's clean and they're good to go. And if it's not, then they don't really want to be bothered with it, because they know there's a lot of junk there that shouldn't be. Let me see. Okay. So John said, can I do a full backup with Backup Buddy? The answer is yes. I use Backup Buddy all the time. We actually been backing up to Glacial now with it, with Amazon's Glacial. So it's been a dream, does a great job. We're in good shape. All right. How secure is WordPress to be used to manage a financial services organization that deals with credit reports? All right. That's an interesting question. I don't think that, or at least I wouldn't think that you're going to be pulling those credit reports and storing them on your own website. I think there's a lot of issues with that. So I don't think that's something that you would be doing. I will say that there really is not a lot of websites that are secure to be able to do that, and there would be a lot of customization needed to do that. So I would have to understand what you were wanting to do to better explain it or better assess it. But I'm going to say I don't think that you're performing the main functions, or the code doesn't live on, or you're not storing those people's information on your website. I think it should be being passed off and passed to somebody else. It should go directly into a credit bureau. It shouldn't be going into your website. So it shouldn't matter what the platform you use, because unless you're going to actually be the fulfillment company, you wouldn't have a huge problem. Same thing I tell everybody with the credit card people. When you take a credit card, you shouldn't be taking that credit card and holding it locally. You need to be automatically passing it out right directly to your gateway. So when they type in the computer and they hit submit, it never touches your company. It goes right out directly to the credit card processors. The fines are really pretty bad, and I would highly recommend not keeping that kind of information if you don't have to. Okay, I registered my domain. What is the best way to move forward to build a website? It's okay that you registered your domain with GoDaddy. You just need to make sure that you have a WordPress.org install. That would be the best, to my mind. That's the best way to go forward. Is the way I would look at that. And I would tell you that that would be how I would approach it. I would just make sure whatever I did, if you want to stay with GoDaddy, great. Make sure you use a WordPress.org install and not their WordPress.com install. Okay, so this comment is an interesting comment, because this is you get what you pay for. It says, I came across 123 websites and they offer free $2,500 value, but charge $400, or charge $200 for a 5-page website and $400 for WordPress with free whatever. Okay. I don't know where that's being done. I don't know what's being embedded into a website. I know there's a lot of people that do things like this and then sorely regret it. My bet is you'll have no control over. And I'm going to give you an example of something. I had somebody come to me and ask me to look at their website. And the website looked beautiful on the front side of the website, except when I turned the style sheets off to see what was under the hood, all this code gibberish in the background. When I did that, it said, this website was built on Mars. It's sponsored by Apple and iTunes. And we live in the Milky Way galaxy at 123blackhole.com. And that was what's embedded. Now, Google can see that. So the guy actually had a link in there to go and build stuff like that, had it embedded in the background. So our poster here said, free comes with a cost, just be careful. The problem with that is the people in this room, 9 out of 10 of them can't assess the danger. They don't have the tool set to be able to decide whether something has been done right or wrong. So I always try to get everybody to follow best practices. You need to make sure that who's ever doing your work, that you either trust them implicitly, like you would let your kid spend an afternoon with them, or have somebody there that's able to assess whatever they've done. Because you can't, the stuff that's embedded in websites, you would just be appalled if you actually all saw that. So these people that are offering $200 websites, I don't even know how to, because I mean, I know myself, it may take me 5 hours to build a page, one page. So if it's taking me 5 hours to build one page, where am I going with a $200 bill? I mean, we're now under like minimum wage for a 5-page website. So I just really would caution against anything like that. All right, let's see. Done. Okay. Somebody asked where you went to college. I don't know if you want to know about that. Okay, can someone say something? Can you say something about Wix hosting? How does it rank in? It's not their hosting. It's the fact that their platform cannot be picked up by Google. And as I say that, like I said, they ran a contest where 2 of the top SEO people in the country went head to head to see if they could get something ranked. And they could do it. One of them did it. The other one couldn't do it. But if I have to have the top SEO company in the country go look at to see if your site can rank on Wix, where are you guys going with it? They're another one that's difficult to get away from, and they suck you in and make you assign their domain to them. So there's a lot of issues that I see with all of that. So I would be very, very careful with that. All right, let's see. I'm going to skip did you go to? Let's see. What about Bizpedia and how to opt out? I don't even know what Bizpedia is. I don't know what that is. I'm going to have to skip that question because I don't even know what about that. All right. Do you have an opinion on installing WordPress on a site's root folder and a subdomain? Yeah, I do. If the website is going to be the main level website, it needs to be in the root directory. If it's going to be on a subdirectory, like a subdomain of it, it's okay to have it in a subdirectory. Or this would be a good example. Custom built website. It runs the front end of the website. I put the WordPress install in a directory and I name that directory. There's a whole lot of regular expressions that usually have to be written to make that work right. But that would be a functional example of what that would be. But 9 out of 10 of you, actually probably 99 out of 100 of you, the WordPress install should go in the root file and you should never put it in a subdirectory. Okay, let's see what the next one says. You guys are doing good on questions, I've got to say. All right, it says, what if several products from your Shopify site are ranking on the first page of Google, but you're not ranking for the broad search terms? So all right, so you're ranking on, so if I go put a Ford F-150 in, you're ranking on the first page of Google with a Ford F-150. You won't rank on trucks, that's too broad. I mean, I'd like to see what that search term that you're ranking on, that you're saying you're ranking on the first term is, and then to see what the broader match is. The more competitive the search term, the less likely you are to rank. That I will say. The other thing is, I have a friend that has a Shopify website that sells house plans. And they're ranked in Google, but you know what they're ranked in Google for? They're not ranked in Google for the website itself. It's their image search that's ranking. So although they're ranking on house plans, and it works for them because the image search, when I'm looking for a house plan, I'm usually looking at the images to see what the house plans look like before I go somewhere to build it. But that's a very rare case. But yeah, Jeremy, I'd like to see what those search terms are before I make a determination on that. Once I create my website, what do I register when somebody is looking for my service? My site will come up. I'm using WordPress to create my site. Okay, so you don't register anymore. There is no site registration like there used to be. It used to be you go in and you go register. I will say web.com Network Solutions, they do a lot of soliciting that they're going to go list your website. They do that quite a bit, actually. The reality is that's just, they're just charging you for air because you don't know any better. What you need to do to get your website listed is go set up your webmaster tools. Search console is what it's called now. Previously it used to be webmaster tools, and add the sitemap from your website into the search console, and Google will index it, and that will get it into the system. So they need a valid sitemap submitted through your search console, and that will get it done. But there is no more registration of websites like there used to be in the old days. All right, let's see what the next one. Oh, these are the people with the URLs. We finally got to the bottom of the line here. Let's see. All right. Okay. Says, this is new to me. I don't understand the difference between WordPress.org and a host like HostGator. Doesn't HostGator have templates that allow you to build your website? Or do you have to build them with WordPress.org? And HostGator just has your website and their services. Okay, so that's a good question. So there's different ways to do this. And I'm going to try to explain this with an analogy so you understand. Web hosting companies are like apartment complexes, and they rent empty apartments and you move your files in. WordPress.org would be that scenario. So you go, you rent your empty apartment, you go and you decorate the apartment with your WordPress.org files, and those files belong to you and you control them. And I don't know whether HostGator has its own online building tool or not. So I don't know that, but I'm gonna speak this in a bigger sense. You can also rent a furnished apartment where it comes with all the furniture and you go live in the furnished apartment. And when you go live in the furnished apartment, when you're done living there, you don't pack your stuff up and go, you just leave it there. The problem with a website is that you're investing time, you're investing money at times, and you're putting this effort in this brand, and you've gotten business cards, and you've done all these things. The chance of you wanting to pick up and move out without taking your furniture with you is slim to none. The other thing is, as you grow your business and your needs become more, the scalability is not there. So let's say, I rent a 1-bedroom apartment. I then get married and then have a baby. And now I need a 2-bedroom apartment. Well, with the apartment complex, you pick up all your little stuff and you move over to the 2-bedroom apartment, and all you have to do is put a change of address in at the post office. But if you're using a cookie cutter, they can't add a whole 2nd bedroom on for you. So now you may have to do something different because you're out of whatever that pool is that they had for you to start with. So the scalability is not always there either. So I hope that kind of gives you a summary of that particular set of topics. But it's like an apartment complex, and that's the best way I can liken it, so that you can kind of understand what the differences are. As far as HostGator goes, my understanding is they're just an apartment complex. I don't know if they have a tool. Maybe they do now. I guess they might think they need to be competitive, but that's the best way to explain it. And the thing is, when you use somebody else's tool, you cannot pick your marbles up and go. So if you get in a pricing dispute with them, if you get in a fight with them, if you don't like their service, and I'm gonna tell you, I had one of my own customers call me he texted me the other night, and what he had done, the photographers have special needs, And a lot of the time they go to places like Zen Photo or I don't know. It's like a place like that, or Smug Mug or something along those lines. And it's designed to help distribute photos. He tells me out of the clear blue sky, he said he wanted to, like, we are the post office for his website, but he rented an apartment somewhere else. So we get his mail, but his apartment was at this Zenfolio place. Zenfolio was charging him $10,000 a year. And he was like, that's it. I can't afford to pay that anymore. I need to get out of there. So he came back, rented an empty apartment from us, and moved his furniture back into our apartment complex, if you will. But what he had to do is rebuild everything from scratch. He couldn't just zip it up, put a handle on it, and move it. John Harris asked the question about Backup Buddy. Backup Buddy, I run a backup. I download my backup. I go wherever I want to go. I run the install program, and my website's back up. In a matter of an hour, you can move your stuff if you've set it up right. The poor guy with the Zenfolio, he's still building a new website over there. He said to me, he said, well, it's down times right now because of COVID. I don't have customers and so on and so forth. So if I'm going to do it, now's a good time to do it. So that's what he's over there spending his free time doing, is rebuilding his entire set of circumstances by hand to not have to pay $10,000 to this photo company. The one thing I am going to say is this, though. The idea that you can keep moving and flipping your website, if you ended up having a website that had some value to it, that actually had some rankings to it, and you flip it, you can do what's called a 301 redirect on it and tell it, hey, we've moved from here to here. But the estimate is that Google only honors 80% of that. So think of like being a human, and I move every so often. Every time I move, I lose 20% of my credit. So I don't know that I would like to lose 20% of my web rankings simply because I have to keep hopping out of one platform into the other. Now, if I do what John said, which is use Backup Buddy, and I pick my suitcase up and I move somewhere else and just open my suitcase, there's no loss. So that's another thing, that coming in and out of platforms, it sets you up for failure. I don't know how else to say that to you, because whenever you need to go somewhere else or your business dictates you need to do something else, you conceivably can lose 20% of the value of your website just simply by relocating yourself and changing the platform. So just kind of keep that in the back of your head too. I'd like to discourage that kind of behavior if I could at all. All right, so let's see. What's the best shopping cart to use? Well, I keep telling you WordPress, and their shopping cart is WooCommerce, and that's pretty beefy. It can handle quite a bit. So that still continues to be my answer, which is WordPress is the route to take with their WooCommerce plugin. All right, let's see what's the next one say. Is it possible to integrate with Squarespace site? No. It is in this regard. I don't want to say necessarily no, flat out like no. So theoretically, I could run a WordPress blog or the blog function on a subdomain and then put a link that says go to my blog and have it run over there. The problem is with that is that I don't keep the encapsulated power within the root of the website. So although Google has recognized that things are split up now, that some places may run, shop like SEO, shop.SEO 411 or classes.SEO 411, that they do that for ease of use, there's still some leakage of the power. And see, here's the thing. If I'm Exxon, I got a lot of power and I don't need to push down on that. But you guys, we're like all baby fish swimming in this big ocean. We need the best possible set of circumstances so that we can grow up and grow into being big fish. So although other places do this, it's not always the best route to take when I look at my own set of circumstances or the sort of circumstances that the people that are asking me. I'm going to assume that most of you guys are on the small side here tonight. So I wouldn't recommend splitting yourself between two domains for some reason to just kind of keep the Squarespace site. I just would get out and get the whole thing moved over and be done with it. All right, let's see what my next question says. So how does a custom email address tie into this? It just basically comes with it. I mean, it doesn't really necessarily tie in anywhere. I think anytime you have a website address, you can get an email address. Your web hosting company should provide it. What I will say this, and I'm going to warn against this piece, some of the Microsoft mail providers like GoDaddy make it very, very difficult to move from them. So if you buy your Office 365 services from GoDaddy, it's a real pain in the neck to try to leave GoDaddy. So it can be done, but it's a lot of hoops to jump through. So just kind of stick that in your head somewhere. But your web hosting provider should give you email or be able to provide that for you. Okay. Okay, so this is really interesting, okay? Because I would, this search, and let me do this. Lucky for you, I have tools. Hold on a minute. So the question, the gentleman that had the Ford 150 question, I suspected it was going to be something like that. Okay. You see, if you see my screen, I just changed over to Chrome. Let me see, where's my SERP works? Here we go. Alrighty. So let me put this in and let's see what we're talking about here. There is 100% zero pressure on this keyword. And what I mean when I say that is this keyword is so non-competitive, Google doesn't even have a cost per click score on it. So the reason you're ranking on this with a Shopify website, I don't know which one of these you are, is because Google doesn't even look at this as on its radar of a word that anybody would even, or a set of words that anybody would want to even rank on. So the restrictors that would come on a search term or the delimiters in the vertical. So when Google's algorithms kind of getting really, I don't know, granular, for the lack of a better word, probably. They look and they say, okay, you do Italy vacations. This is the way we approach vacation sites, and the restrictors and the spam controls and all of that all fall within the travel industry, and it's almost got its own set of algorithm entries. This thing is not even on their radar, so as a result, it just is. Okay, so that's the first reason why this is ranking. What is your, I don't know what yours is. Jeremy, I need your domain too, because I don't even know which one of these you guys are. All right. But the thing is, this is a zero competition, zero bid. Google doesn't even know this search term exists per se. Come here. Come on, if you're coming. Come on. Sorry, the noisy dog is back. So with that said, I would say that. Now something, let's go with tuba mouth. Let's just go with tuba mouthpiece. So that is so super specific, there are no even searches for that. If I go with tuba mouthpiece, it looks like tuba mouthpiece is $2,900 a month. Yeah. So it's a 40%. They say it's highly competitive and it's 2,900 searches a month. So that is on their radar. So it's going to have a much different lift than some set of words that you've strung together that really have no meaning to anybody but you. Now, the question that I would have is how many people put in that exact search term that super long um, versus this tuba mouthpiece? That would be one of the questions that I would have in this. But as far as Google is concerned, the reason that even ranks in a Shopify website is because there's zero competition on it. This thing you'll never rank on, because at the end of the day, you actually have to go do a whole bunch of things right to be able to rank on it. And I don't think you're even, I don't know what you are, but my guess is you're not even close to it. See, yeah, you're up against Amazon on the first page, so you kind of have to start to get your, you gotta, yeah, this other thing that you're showing me is so super specific versus like these here that are just way out there. Okay, so let's go answer live. Got that one, got that one, got that one. Done, done. All right, this is, all right, hold on. This is probably going to be one of my favorite questions. I have a situation where I hired and paid over $5,000 for a website and a simple shopping cart, 5 products or less, and the company wants me to do back end coding and handle shopping cart after they finish the design. In my opinion, it was a ripoff, and I'm a marketer, not a coder. Company was not transparent. This happened 7 years ago. Is this something that happens now? Do companies expect you to know web design and coding, and what companies are reputable these days? Oh, that's a really interesting question. Um, so your circumstance is not uncommon. I think that this industry is probably one of the most crooked industries out there, and it's why I kind of decided that we needed a voice in the woods here, and we needed somebody that would be out there that would be honest and answer people and help people, and try to do the best we can. As far as to handle your own shopping cart, on some ways you should be able to handle your own shopping cart in the sense of adding a product, deleting a product, writing a description for a product. The interface should be easy enough for you to be able to do that. Now, I think WordPress's interface is easy to do that. Okay. I do agree with you that you were ripped off more than likely with that price. Maybe there's something specific there that I don't know about, that those 5 products were actually 5 products with 50 attributes on them. So maybe there was something more complex than that. Do I think that companies are transparent in what they do? Not all of them. In fact, I think 9 out of 10 of them are not. I think there's very few solid, honest web design or search engine optimizations companies out there. I just, it's a really a rough road, and I really feel for you guys trying to make a decision. Um, as far as what companies are reputable these days, not very many. Um, I like the people that come to us after they've been burned because they appreciate who we are. Um, what else I would say is that if you happen to meet somebody that does web design and search engine optimization, and they are allowed to teach classes and partner with big people in the city and do that, I might think that they'd have a better reputation out of than somebody you just go find on the internet. That price seems a little steep to me for what you're describing. Um, but the one thing I can say to do is see if you can't go get some references from them. I somehow think that may be the best way to do that. Um, but I would look at who the people are, who the management team is, what have they been doing, who are they affiliated with, do they hide? I'd ask questions like, do they code in this country? I mean, do you use people in the United States, or are you just a front for India that you don't even really know what's what? So I mean, that's a really tough question to answer. Um, as far as to knowing code, no, you really shouldn't be able to have to know how to code something. Although I could see maybe to change it, it depends. But for the most part, no, you shouldn't be needing to code anything. You should be able to just type in an interface and hit update. All right, this one says, it seems to be over my head, but I have a website with GoDaddy not showing what to do. I have a 1-year contract. Um, huh. Well, I don't know what you have with GoDaddy, so I think that starts to be the first set of questions that I have. Did you use their GoDaddy in a box? Did you use GoDaddy tonight? Did you use WordPress.com? If you use WordPress.com, it's going to have to be moved by hand to get out of there. I can't. That's the one thing. John, you asked about Backup Buddy. You cannot pick up and move a GoDaddy or WordPress.com site with Backup Buddy. It doesn't allow it. So there's that problem as well. All right, so here's a really good question. Speaking of Johnny asked another question. So guy with the 1-year contract, Rudy, I'm sorry, I'd have to look at that more to see what more you're asking me on that. And it's okay that things are over your head. That's why I'm here. And that's why I do this, because I really want to get to where I'm trying to help as many of you as I possibly can. The more educated I can make you, the better you are to make better decisions. And the less likely to have problems or fall into traps. So that's why I come here every 2 weeks to kind of talk to as many entrepreneurs as I can to get you guys into the best possible position to succeed. So there is nothing, don't worry about if something seems to be over your head. All right, so next question. Can you do a full backup with Wix, Squarespace, etc.? No, not at all. You have to move everything page by hand. The only one, and don't quote me on this, that has an export function is Weebly. I think that's the only one that we've been able to successfully export and pull over. The rest of these sites all have to be brought up, built, and moved over by hand. So that's that problem. Oh, and Jeremy said he's Professor Mouthpiece. I don't know that I saw Professor Mouthpiece. Oh, here you are here. Okay. So, yeah. All right. So if you, let me see if I can do this here. I have a tool that tells me about the websites and what their value is and what they do and what's going on with them. So that I can go in, look at a website and assess what's the value of that website. And no offense, okay, but according to this, you're only ranked on 17 words. We can go find out what they are. You have no domain authority. You have no power. And in fact, on some level, they actually gave you a spam score of a 2. So there, you really shouldn't have a spam score of anything at this point. The reality is that that term is so off the beaten track. It has no value to it, has no nothing to it, and that's the only reason you're ranking. All right. So I don't know if you're getting business on it and you just got lucky here, but this is such a, there's not even enough metrics on this to say how many people search for this a month. I mean, like this, according to Google, 0 people search for this a month. That's how this whole term, not the tuba mouthpiece, but this Robert Tucci RT-50. Okay. And I wonder if how would I do that? Let's see if it's this. No, even that doesn't have any value. I mean, this seems like it's a brand name and it's something you guys would know in your industry, because it seems like it would be somebody that would need to have a tuba mouthpiece thing. But yeah, this Robert Tucci piece is not really searched for. So you may say different in the real world, but it's not. Google says there's no searches performed on it a month, and your website is is very, very weak. So it will never get on the first page of tuba mouthpieces the way it is, because you have to go do battle with several companies, including Amazon at this point. Okay, let's see. Done. Okay, let's see. As Score, we have been trying to ride shotgun with our clients and see and look at what they have good. What is a tool to look at? John, the best I think you could do is SERPworks. That's this little guy over here. It's $29 a month, and it plugs into WordPress, or plugs into Chrome. And if you look down here, it gives me an idea of what that website's built in. So like this one is not, it's just, it doesn't really even have any of the good attributes on it. So this sucker's just built in good old fashioned HTML. That I picked a good one because there's nothing, there's no real language in it. There's no, this is SWF objects. That's so old. It's older than the hills. So, but yeah, this gives me the matrix. The metrics is on the side of what something is, and you can see this one. So yeah, it's SERPWorks, SERPWORX. That's one that would help you with that. But really, everybody should be in WordPress.org. That's really the best advice that I can give anybody. Okay. Oh wait. The company is located in Austin as a shopping cart company in web design, but not a foreign company, and my products were simply nothing complicated. Yeah, I feel bad for you because it does sound like you didn't have a lot going for you on that. So I apologize for their bad behavior. It's hard to find good people. And high rated is marginal. I mean, I would go talk to their customers. I mean, there's some out there that I see are high rated, and it's because they paid somebody to be highly rated. What tool do you use to rank websites? I don't know what that means because I don't rank websites. Um, I don't know. So why don't you, Alma Brown, why don't you kind of redirect that to me because I'm not sure that I understand what you're asking me. Um, How could you spell that, please? SERPWorks, is that what I guess what you're asking me to spell? It's SERPWORX. I hope that's what you're asking me to spell. If not, let me know and I'll spell something different. Although I warn you ahead of time, I am not a good speller. I did very bad in phonics as a child, from what I understand. A realtor who has had her personal website is no longer active. She does not know she can reinstate it, does not know who did it for her. How can she claim her domain? Don't know where to start. That would be something that you would need to send me personally, and I would take a look at it, and then I could tell you if and or how what could be done on that. That's not the easiest thing in the world to come up with the answer on. And then somebody said I already answered it. Let's just see. Okay, so what I'd like you to walk away with tonight, because we're coming up on 8 o'clock here, and if anybody has more questions, now's the time to ask. What I would like everybody to walk away with tonight is these few points. One is the basic block to building a website is what platform that you choose to use. If you plan on having a long-term sustainable business, if your thought process is, I need to utilize my website to help me be an additional salesperson, I want to be visible in Google. If any of those scenarios are true, to my mind, especially in a group where people are just starting out or on the smaller side, the best answer that I can tell you to use is WordPress.org. It allows many, 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 many options and is flexible. The other thing that I'm going to tell you with this, and it's why else that I'm gonna kind of say this needs to be done this way. WordPress is written in PHP, and what that means to you is that worst case scenario, you need something custom done, and you can go and find a PHP programmer on Upworks, on Fiverr, and get a reasonable job done. It's open source, which means that it's not compiled so that somebody can walk in and look at it and be able to use it. Something like ASP.NET, and I'll give you a true life story here in a second, and I'm using ASP.NET as on purpose, okay? That's Microsoft's original version of programming language that interfaced with SQL Server. And the problem is with that is that it's very specialized. And then it became just these .NET and .NET Framework and all this other stuff that Microsoft has now. And at the end of the day, the cost to develop in that is a lot more expensive. Um, there's a lot of people that know what they're doing, but they are going to charge you an arm and a leg to do it. Most of you, it's overkill for. Now, I have a company that does have a piece of software that runs on the internet that's super, super sophisticated, that's written in a .NET situation. I think that that is an appropriate application for it. However, just to put this in perspective for everybody, every time anybody talks to them about rewriting that website, they're giving a $200,000 to $400,000 quote to rewrite the website. And I am here to tell you that that's not an unreasonable amount of money for what they want done. So don't set yourself up into that type of situation either, that you're in a situation becomes far too costly to maintain. The other thing is, and I'm going to throw this out, that this is not maybe necessarily related, but it's related enough that I think that I should say it. If you chose not to put time into your website, and now the pandemic came, and you're looking around trying to figure out how you're going to make a living with this new dynamic that we're living in, that nobody seems to know when it's going to end. Make the investment in your website. Spend this time figuring out what you need to do with it. I mean, I'm always available to answer questions, so you don't have to worry about that part of it. But I think that these websites are coming full circle and they need to be used. Avoid putting a circumstance up that the only way you're going to get traffic is through paying Google to provide traffic through their AdWords program. They have gone in, and a lot of the companies, and I'm going to say this as gently as I can, Google was basing websites, some of the website rankings, on the traffic that you were getting across the website. So if you have a website that doesn't get a lot of traffic, sometimes it doesn't rank as well. One thing that we noticed is that the websites that used to have AdWords but don't have AdWords now, because of the fact that they don't have any business, so they shut the AdWords off. Those websites have taken substantial hits. I think if I asked Google, Google would say, well, it's just not getting as much traffic as it used to, so therefore it just doesn't rank as well as it used to. But that traffic was artificially generated. So I would like to, in a perfect world, I would always like to see everybody make the investment in their organic side first and foremost, because although the instant gratification of paid search is there and is always there, I think we put ourselves in a position that we're dependent on something. I put $1 in, I get $1.50 out. Whereas organic has always been a little bit more harder to quantify than paid. A TV ad is hard to quantify, but people still buy them. So don't let that I put $1 in and you can't show me $1.50 back out dissuade you. Because at the end of the day, when I do something to a website and that page ranks, the chances are that page will stay ranking there for a pretty long time to come. Now, I need to always be putting up content. I always need to be interfacing. I need to be acting right. There's all these things that I need to be doing, and that is very well and true. But the issue always comes back to when I put up and go down an organic road. If I can get that placement, then the thing is, I don't have to put resources towards that. I can move to the next aspect of something. So for example, when the pandemic hit, I decided, well, I'm always the shoemaker's kids. I don't ever put time in my own website. I'm going to put time in my own website, being I'm sitting home and I'm not running up and down and going to networking events and all the things I was doing. So I got the website to where it's ranking on SEO. I'm very happy about that. Yay to me. I said, okay, so for the next trick, I'm now going to do web design. And at the time, we were in the 90s. I'm now in the 20s. Because I have the SEO situated, I can now pay attention to the web design. And once the web design ranks, I'll decide what the next thing is that I want to rank on. But once I have these pieces segmented and working, and I know I'm okay, it frees me up to go to the next thing. And with that said, that should be how you approach your website. Let me set a goal. Let me see what I need to do. Let me make sure that that website works the way I want it to work, and then I can go on to attacking the next part of that website to make sure the next piece works, and then the next piece works. And before you know it, you may have started a website that had 500 people a month, and if you were lucky, you got 5 leads a month. I have some people that after 5 and 6 years, they went from 5 leads a month to they get 25 leads a day. So that's what happens when you put the right time and effort into the website and you do the things that we talk about in this class and are able to do that. Let me go back over here. For email, is G Suite's good option instead of getting? Yes, but make sure so G Suites, they offer G Suites through Wix. Now try to get your G Suite account out of Wix. It took me 5 phone calls and screaming at some man in Pakistan to be able to get the information out of him. So it's still not, it's a lot cleaner, and I felt bad for the guy. He just kept telling me, "Ma'am, stop hollering." So you could, because they wouldn't let me get my domain, my email out of, like, it was resold through Wix, so that account had to stay with Wix. So they got it. I ended up having to get a supervisor and they got it done, but it's easier than getting it out of GoDaddy. But G Suites will work, but be careful of Wix and G Suites. That's probably the best answer I can give you on that. All right, so let's see. Somebody said, how do we contact you? So let me tell you the best way to do that. My web address is seo411.com. My email address is beth@seo411.com. So it's easy peasy to get a hold of me. You can go shoot a message in through the website. You can send me an email. Either way, we'll get you an answer. Do you have a ballpark on the services for a new website with less than 150 products? That's a call me tomorrow question, because I need to know what those are. Interesting you mentioned that, because the company in Austin did not give me the option to take all my information with me to use somewhere else. This is obviously a bad investment, and I hope no one else goes through this. Erica, I want you to know that it's more times than not that it's your side than a happy story. Okay, so I'm not meaning my customers. I still have my first customer from 21 years ago. So I don't mean for me, but your story, understand that you are the norm and not the exception. Okay, so don't feel bad about it. Don't ask if you can take your stuff with you. That's a good question to ask. The person that said, how do you know if something's good or not? Ask. If I leave, can I take my stuff with you? If the answer is, then I would tell you right there you have a problem, because anybody that has to trap you into a circumstance to keep their business with you is not a company you should be doing business in the first place. That's just my opinion. Maybe I'm old school, maybe I'm just an older individual, but if you have to trap me to keep me as your customer, yeah, you're not someplace I should be in the first place. So that's at least my opinion on that. John said, thank you for my generosity. You're always welcome. I'm always happy to help you guys. You know that. So it's 7:56. So I think we're at a wrap for the moment here. If there's any other questions, let us know. And we'll be happy to try to get them answered for you. Always welcome questions from you guys. Thank you for joining in today's Internet Marketing Clinic. We hope you enjoyed our program, and we will have more marketing information for you next week. Be sure to tune in.